It all started a year ago, until one day, in the span of a few seconds, I was transformed into the old man I am today. But I'd best begin at the beginning. On the night on which my wife and I decided to accept the invitation which Elvira extended us to attend a séance. According to her, by using a Ouija board, she could communicate with the spirit of her dead husband, who always gave her sound advice, and at times warned her about certain events. Nevertheless, my wife and I, as was the case with Amy and her husband, took a light attitude towards the séance, but we didn't realize there would be tremendous consequences as a result of those predictions.
That's all for now. Would you like to read what he dictated in his message, Aurora?
Mom, it's pure childish nonsense.
I think I quite agree with your daughter, Elvira.
Exactly what I think. Only I'm not content to call it nonsense. My personal outlook is that trying to communicate with the dead constitutes heresy. No, my dear, the dead don't talk nonsense. And you mustn't view it as heresy. Since the dead are much closer to God than you or I and all other people, I can't force you to think I'm right. And sooner or later you'll begin to see that I wasn't talking foolishness. But don't forget, you were taking down your own father's message. He certainly had something to tell us all. Let us hear it.
He mentioned Rudolph.
You mean our son?
And he referred to me. He said that because of you, Rudolph and I will never be married the way we planned.
You see? You concocted the whole story, Elvira. You know quite well that Lewis and I love Aurora, as if she were our own daughter. And I assure you we'll be delighted when they're married and settled down for good. You're only trying to upset us all tonight by using that Ouija board there.
You two will begin shouting at each other. Don't forget that Elvira and you have been friends for some time.
Yes, we all have been good friends for years. But she's trying to make us look silly by preaching foolishness, and I won't allow it. A simple joke is one thing, but this is going too far.
But this experiment isn't harming anyone. You're all being childish. Think about it. Can't you see that we're embarrassing Aurora?
Don't let our remarks hurt you, Aurora. As children, we fought every day. You know how schoolmates are, worse than families, and yet, my dear,
To tell you the truth, there is something that has me dumbfounded. Could a blind man work that board the way Elvira does? She had her eyes closed.
She played a trick on us, that's all. It's obvious she was peeking.
Bring a blindfold, I don't care. I'll require complete silence for a moment while I go into a trance. It moved by itself. I saw it. We all saw it. I don't consider it strange at all. It was my husband's soul that moved the board. Because he wants to convince you.
It's a lot of nonsense. That's all it is. You're beginning to feel superstitious, and you imagine you see things moving. Also, there's a storm outside. Who wouldn't imagine things in this atmosphere?
Lewis is right, of course. On the other hand, it could be another one of your tricks, Elvira. I think you'd stop at nothing as long as you could convince us. But I give you fair warning, you're not going to get away with it.
Wait, please. There's something more. What was the message?
Well, you heard the first part. He said that because of you, Rudolph and I will never be married. After that, he said that on the 8th of April, you and your husband will begin a tragic period in your lives.
Well, I'd say your husband hates me. And when alive, he simply seemed to adore us.
He said on April 8th? Now, let's see, April 8th.
Why, that's our wedding anniversary, my dear. 24 splendid years. Anything more?
Well, he says absurd things. Things I can't seem to comprehend. That you and Aunt Amy will carry on a conversation under strange circumstances before long.
We'd better run along. I'm starting to get nervous.
Just a minute, Amy. I want to know everything that Joseph Spirit said. Go on, please, Aurora.
Seems like the spirit of my father really has it in for you, Aunt Mary. He says that you'll be undergoing a very difficult test, and if you don't match up to it, you'll be the cause of horrifying events.
Horrifying, you say?
He repeated it twice. Horrifying things, inconceivable to the human mind. But the rest is really something. Later on, you're going to have a talk to an inhuman creature. A creature that has extraordinary power, but he says that he can't mention his name.
Satan, unless I'm wrong, dear.
Quiet down.
As long as you don't listen to this inhuman creature. If you don't take him seriously, you'll enjoy life for years. On the other hand...
Go on, read the rest.
He stopped there. That's all there was to the message.
I've never heard such absurd, childish nonsense before.
It seems to me that your husband must have lost his mind in the other world. Either that or you've been communicating with a spirit that likes to play jokes on people. That's the way I see it.
In my opinion, she'd better see a psychiatrist. In all my born days, I've never heard of such utter silliness, such bald-faced lies. The spirits tell nothing but the truth.
One moment, folks. Mary, I could never give you the things you deserve, dear. But after 20 long and hard years, I can finally do it. Here it is. I'd like to give you the deed to the house. Yes, Mary. It's yours now.
Well, dear, there's joy on her face tonight. And you told her that starting on the night of her anniversary, tragedy would come to her.
That's right, Mother. If I thought it would help, I'd sell my soul to Satan.
That's blasphemy, Rudolph.
Don't get so upset about it. After all, there's no such thing as the devil, in my opinion, so I'll do as you two decide. I mean, what you decide, Mom.
But are you insinuating that your father's always obeyed me?
He sure has. You don't rule him by using force and a dictatorial attitude. You merely use tenderness and love. And he always does, just as you say.
The boy's right, you know, Mary. All in all, you girls are the ones who rule the roost. And don't take it so lightly. Aurora will do the same thing with you as soon as you're married. Well, we're wasting lots of time, Mary. Why don't you continue explaining about your project, son?
As I said, this deal is a sure thing. And it'll make plenty of money, too.
When your mother and I were married, I only had my job.
But, Papa, listen, I don't want to be a pilot who flies for an airline, just another employee. Look, with this, I'll be independent. And besides, I've already told you that crop dusting is a sure thing. With this, I can't lose, Mom. The only thing I need now is $4,000 to make a start, and I'll have my plane.
No. No, Rudolph. That's just too much money, dear. We can't do it. How do you think your father's going to get it?
By mortgaging the house.
But you heard what your father said tonight. That after 20 years, he was able to give me the deed to the house. And if we were to lose it, we'd lose all our life savings.
If I were as pessimistic as you, Mom, I wouldn't even try to fight for my living.
And besides, your father's no longer a young man, you know. And he's worked like a slave, son, for all these years. And he wouldn't have sufficient energy to begin all over again now if you were to fail. Think about it, son. We're not young. When your father and I die, this house will be yours. Yours and Aurora's.
I need the money now, not later. What's the matter? You two are looking at me as if you think my idea were a crime.
I'm glad you're ambitious, Rudolph. But ambition shouldn't be your master. Why don't you go out and get a good job, son? A permanent one.
You mean a job like you have, right? It's because Aurora's a lovely young woman and I don't want her to be poor and tired all her life like my mother.
Rudolph, you...
It's the truth, Mom. And I'm not about to come to the end of the road like you, with nothing but an old house to show after years of hard work.
No.
Forgive me, Mom. Forgive me. I didn't know what I was saying.
Louis, please, for me. Let's mortgage the house. Louis, you look worried, dear. What's the matter? I know. It's the house that has you worried.
That's right, Mary, it's the house. I went to the bank and they're going to foreclose in 10 days.
But you made me think it had all been straightened out.
Because I didn't want you to worry about it. Rudolph promised me faithfully he'd send $2,000.
Well, but he has to send it, that's all.
I spoke to him on the phone. The poor boy's going crazy trying to get the money. And he's coming down here next week to see us.
I should have known that his great deal wouldn't work out right. And I've let him convince me, Louis. I've been an old fool.
I think it was our duty, don't you?
Yes. And now who's going to look after us?
Slow down. Just be patient. He'll find the answer.
And all because of Aurora. Yes, she's responsible.
Will you quiet down? You're talking like a schoolgirl. Aurora's a fine young woman. She had nothing to do with this at all. Rudolph invented the idea.
That's a lie. She's the one who made him come to us. Because the girl is so spoiled, she must have wanted luxuries or lots of money. And now look, now we're the ones who are supposed to pay the consequences.
And you're the one who idolized her? Who considered her part of the family already? Mary, this isn't like you. What's the matter? You're upset. It's quite normal. Do you think I'm feeling gay and light-hearted? But dear, we mustn't panic so rapidly. And besides, we're being unjust, and that's wrong.
Can you talk to Mrs. Howard?
Certainly. Come in, Mary.
Are you going away?
Yes. Harry wants to spend a few days with his brother who lives on the coast. He called us yesterday to invite us. As a matter of fact, I was going to run over to your house to tell you. You're upset, aren't you?
Mm. Amy, we're going to lose the house.
Well, why, I think that makes things perfect, Mary. You and Louis will come and live with us. Since all our children are grown and married, at times we feel bored in the house all alone.
Don't be funny, Amy. Don't be funny.
It's just a defense mechanism. If I don't say something to cheer you up, we'll begin crying together. Is it that bad? Well, no matter how low you feel, Mary, have faith.
I'm beginning to think that stuff about spirits is true. Do you still recall what Elvira told us?
You were like this as a child. I can still hear it. When they spoiled you, you were good. When you didn't get your way, then you'd begin to scream.
When a person is worried, she needs comfort. That's funny. You begin to scold me immediately.
It's only because I like you and because I'm your friend. And now listen to what I have to tell you. You wanted money as a child because that way you felt secure. And now it reflects in your son also.
My poor son, Amy. How I'd like to have tremendous power. Power that mortals don't have. Power to save the house and aid Rudy.
Don't say such terrible things. You're not being at all rational. It's shameful to lose faith in life. Things look bad in times of trouble, but they always seem to work out.
I'd like to be completely sure.
Do you see? Although you're not asking for candy or for toys now, just the same you still want to be shown the way out without a struggle. Look, even though things won't work out and you do lose the house, you mustn't complain. Because things aren't really so tragic. There are people who lose their loved ones and their health, too. They're able to go on living and they don't pity themselves as you do, Mary. Think about it, dear. Face it. You'll see that things will work out.
To be quite frank, Rudolph, well, it's true, I'm worried about it. But I'm more worried about your poor mother. She's terrified we'll lose the house.
But it's not as bad as that, Papa.
It's bad enough. Rudolph, Don't you realize that if your parents lose the house, they'll be entirely ruined?
It's going to work out all right. I told you that, darling. I went to the bank today and they gave me an extension. I can assure you that in the next couple of weeks, I'll not only have paid off the notes that are 2 months overdue, I'll liquidate the whole mortgage, too.
Well, I'm the only one who has his back to the wall. Your mother's fault is pessimism, and you're just the other way round. You make it look as if you had the money already, and that's your mistake. Anyway, it does no good to argue. Let's keep our faith alive and hope that we'll be finding a solution to this quite soon.
And you wipe that sad look off your face. With the money that I'll make, I'll have enough for us to get married sooner than I had thought.
It's not the money that's important, Rudolph, dear. We postponed the wedding twice. Who needs luxuries? I want to get married.
Have patience, sweetheart. And have faith in me. Where's Mom? When did she say that she'd be coming back?
I told you, son. She went to church. She's spent a lot of time there in the past few weeks.
Amy! Amy! When did you return, dear? What are you doing here all alone?
Praying to the Lord for you and for me.
Amy, you look strange. What's the matter, dear?
I ask that you be guided, because pretty soon you'll be needing it. I was praying because I'm really not feeling well, Mary, and I wanted to straighten accounts while there's still time.
Rudolph came, dear. But after 2 hours of waiting, he finally left.
Forgive me, but I wasn't listening. What did you say?
Are you upset, Mary? Your hands feel like solid ice.
A little while ago, I was talking to Amy in the church, and she looked very strange.
Amy?
Yes?
It wasn't her.
Dear, we spoke to each other. But all of a sudden, she was gone. She disappeared, Louis.
That's impossible, Mary. I just received a telegram from the coast. From her husband. I didn't know whether to tell you the news or not. He says that yesterday morning, Amy fell dead. She had a heart attack.
No. It can't be true. No. She was in the church.
It was such a devastating experience. My wife's personality changed completely. Until one afternoon... Just a minute, Mary.
But why?
I'd like to talk with you. Mary, I know that you had been like a sister to Amy for years, and I also know how much her death affected you. Especially with that strange incident in the church. But you must face reality. It was a product of your imagination. You were depressed, Mary. Exhausted because you were so nervous, and under those conditions, we frequently tend to have hallucinations.
Or go crazy, Lewis?
Will you please stop that? I don't want to fight. I only meant to say you have to see things clearly and live like a normal human being. Otherwise, you're liable to get worse, and frankly, I'm worried.
My health is better than ever, and I'm really more normal than I was.
You mean it's normal? You mean it's rational to beg for supernatural powers? To stay inside the church hour after hour for 2 weeks?
But, Lewis, I no longer frequent the church. And besides, I'll never find what I want in any church.
But I don't understand you. In that case, where do you go?
I go to a great spiritualist.
Elvira, eh? You've been speaking with Elvira?
Yes. And thanks to her, I've been able to find out once and for all exactly what the real truth is, Lewis.
You mean to say that you've rejected the religious values that you were taught as a child and that you adhered to? You believe now they're inferior to spiritualism? Spiritualism! Who's always trying to bring the dead back and change them into second-power gods to dominate the present, the past, and the future, too. And who can tell you anything you want to know, even the horse that's going to win the 5th race.
Spiritualism, Lewis, is certainly more important and much more serious than you imagine.
Please, Mary, what can be serious or rational about that idiocy?
The medium presiding at the seances, whose communications can be much more profound, more important than the results gotten from the Ouija board. But above all, the materialization of the spirits.
What a strange vocabulary you employ. Why, Mary, if I didn't know you well, I'd swear that you'd gone crazy.
Lewis, wouldn't it be much easier to evaluate the situation yourself at a meeting? You'd be in a position to judge then. After that, you could make a decision about spiritualism.
Nothing will get me to accept that spirits can materialize.
Nothing? That's what you think. Well, you're like lots of folks. Because you haven't seen those strange beings that talk to us in the dark. But if you're really so sure, since you won't accept what I say, that we can get spirits to come back to this world and talk to some of us, tomorrow come with me to a seance, Lewis. And if what you will hear and what you will see doesn't convince you, I promise you that I'll forget all about spiritualism.
That's fair. I'll go with you.
I thank you. Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
This is my husband. And this is Dr. Charles Pierpoint, the director of our center.
Pleasure to know you.
Mrs. Pierpoint.
How do you do?
And their daughter, Rosalie. This is our medium, Lewis. Her name is Stella Jean. And Mrs. Lewis. And other companions.
May I have your hat? Thank you.
Pardon me, Doctor. Ah, hello there, Elvira. What does the Ouija tell you? Anything really interesting?
Only that tonight you'll begin to realize the truth, that you won't be long in joining our group.
Harry, this house is full of nuts, and that's including my wife. But just wait a while. We'll be having fun tonight.
Frankly speaking, Louis, I probably should go to a psychiatrist. This business is ridiculous. But I was pushed into it. Mary insisted that I be here.
Now, don't worry about it. She promised me she'd either convince me or forget the whole affair, and I'm not going to believe there are spirits just because they use tricks. Look, Harry. Such a young woman and so lovely, and yet she comes to a seance? Pretty strange, don't you think so?
She lost her husband a month ago, and they say she's trying to get his spirit to return from the other world.
That's the way women are. In my opinion, she'd do better to find a new husband.
It's time, Charles. I'll go get the robes.
My friends, let's get started.
Well, I thought this was a seance, but everyone's taking their clothes off, Harry.
Louis, be quiet. Take your coats off.
I think I'm getting the picture. They want all the spirits to think we're phantoms, too.
I'm not very impressed with this either, Louis. But I can't be rude in a strange house. We'd better not joke about it.
These markings that are embroidered on the robes have a special significance that only the members know about. But do you see this cross here? It represents the forces of virtue. Its very presence on the robe serves to keep the evil spirits away.
This is true.
Oh?
Its purpose is not to let the unwanted spirits get in during the seance.
How about that?
We're surrounded by the dark spirits constantly, although we don't know where they are.
That's news.
The aroma that the roux has holds them at a distance.
My friends, before going into our temple, we should submit ourselves for purification. Follow me, gentlemen. The object of this ritual is to keep our temple completely free from earthly soil. The same custom is adhered to in some Oriental religions. Now these pleasant odors will bring the spirits to us. They're a great help in our work. As you know, at Christ's birth, the great wise men offered the child frankincense and myrrh. They are still used in many religions today. They are meant to purify the surroundings. One of our customs is to render homage to all the representatives or founders of the principal religions of the world. Moses, Mohammed, Buddha, Confucius, and Luther. And of course, Jesus Christ, a wise and loving teacher, whose infinite kindness and mercy embraces all men and all religions.
It's astounding. I thought spiritualists didn't recognize religious beliefs, and yet I see that the founders of these irreconcilable religious ideas are all included in your cult.
Irreconcilable, yes, because men continue to exercise intolerance, but they all lead us to the same goal, although along different paths. You can go ahead and examine the whole place, because I assure you that we have no special installations or apparatus to assist us, to play tricks, and defraud our clients as we have been accused of. The only thing we use is that record player there, because we found that music will attract the benevolent spirits to us. The mediums have a special innate talent. Stella Jean here is able to lend her body, so to speak, so that the bodiless souls can take possession of her, and thus communicate with the living.
Listen, Mr. Pierpont. Once she loans her body out to a soul, isn't there a tremendous risk that the medium's spirit loses its way back and flies around in space for all eternity like a lost child?
Louis!
Now there's nothing to worry about. All members of our cult should be ready to be ridiculed. Since ignorance, and I don't mean to offend you, sir, often sounds like insolence. But allow me to answer your question. The danger exists, I'll admit that, but only remotely. In every medium, the soul is attached to the body by means of a cord of invisible matter, which is difficult to break.
Although someone could cut it, I imagine.
Undoubtedly they could. The being who could break it is the supreme judge, Louis. God. That is quite obvious.
Pardon such curiosity, but in the great beyond, does one realize he's among the dead?
A very pertinent question. For example, at the moment of my death, will I be Louis still, just as I was on this earth? Or a nameless spirit roaming through space, without identity?
Louis!
Eh?
You must realize you're being rude. We let you think anything you like. But you have no right to joke about the ideas of others.
You spoke of death. Death merely takes us to a life after death, one that is different from our physical life. But even then, we don't lose consciousness of our identity.
But when our bodies are disconnected from our souls, do our sins still stay with us? Or is the spirit purified?
The spirit goes on with the same sins and the same virtues as before. The phenomenon that is called death does not purify us. Those conditions continue in the great beyond, sir.
Persons who lived in rebellion, constantly denying that other worlds exist, continue to deny it after death. They think they're still alive. That's their big mistake. But we try to talk to them. They're told that they are dead, and they usually accept the truth. In that way, they find peace.
They are the lost spirits of people whose lives were confused. And our job is to eradicate that confusion. That is to say, they are told what they must accept in death, and once they agree, they will wait contentedly until Judgment Day. May we get started?
Whenever you say.
As well as carrying out the function of a speaking medium, Stella Jean is able to produce ectoplasm, making it possible for the souls that surround us to materialize. Although, even if they achieve this, if they wish to speak, they must use her voice, since they have no vocal cords. Sister Mary, would you be kind enough to turn out all the lights, with the exception of the infrared lamp, which we will be needing? No, I told you that we don't use tricks. There's no need to worry. You see, white light hinders concentration and makes it more difficult for the spirits to materialize. That's the only reason. She is sleeping very deeply now. Would you like to see for yourself? Will you please prick her on the face, arms, and wrists? Her body will not react to pain. She's in such a trance that she has no reflexes. Tell me now, are there any tormented spirits that are trying to get through to us?
Many are here. There are many souls waiting to talk. But only two are going to be able to talk to you tonight. They are in the room with other spirits whose job it is to protect the newly dead. One
is here to see you. The other has no.
Who are they?
The other is very close to 3 brothers who are present tonight.
In the name of the Supreme Judge, may the souls of evildoers, renegades, and those who practice black magic leave this room. May the guardian spirits of those who are gathered here tonight, and of those souls who will speak to us, form a protective wall about this group to keep out the forces of evil. Protect us tonight.
Protect us tonight.
Alice, beautiful Alice. I fought for the right to be able to communicate with you, darling.
Henry, is that you?
But why doubt it, Alice? Since my burial, I've been at your side. Even though you can't see me, darling. And now I'm closer to you than I ever was.
But can you prove to me that you're really my husband?
You and I had secrets. Just between us, Alice. But question me. I'll answer you.
Go ahead, ask him a question, as he told you. Something that only you and he knew about.
When I said I'd marry you, what gift did you bring me, Henry?
A bouquet of roses, believe me. And a poem I wrote. I must return now, Alice. It's urgent. There's another tormented soul here that wants to speak.
It's he! It's Henry! Henry! Henry!
Don't suffer because I'm not at your side. This is a temporary state. The bonds of love that brought us together when I was alive cannot be destroyed. I'll love you. I'll love you always.
Quiet, everyone. Stay quiet.
Harry Mays, what's the matter with you? I follow you. Being at your side, I asked you questions. But you never answer. You don't pay any attention to the things that I'm saying. You're trying to offend me.
But, dear Amy, you mean that it's you?
You crazy old goat. What do you mean? Is that you? Of course it's me. You're attempting to hurt me. The only thing I ask, tell me the truth.
What are you talking about?
I'd like to know the medical report. Because I'm not feeling well and I'm scared. Harry, so sick. I'm young. I don't want to die. When I'm at the church, I talk to the priest only. He pays no attention to me either. How is it possible that you can show such indifference toward me? When I need you now more than ever, Harry. You've always loved me so much. I don't understand you, Harry.
Calm down. Listen to me a second.
Who was that? Just who is this man at my side? And what does he want? Who else is here and whose house is this? And why are we here? Tell me, if we were at the coast. Who are these people here?
Calm down. Control yourself and listen to me.
I don't know who you are. What's happening here?
Exactly 4 months have passed since you were stricken with heart failure and died suddenly.
Did you hear him, Harry? This old man. This old man's crazy. But you just sit there like a dead tree. Tell him he has to go. Throw this lunatic out.
Look at your hands.
Oh, it can't be true. You're trying to make me go crazy. These are not my hands. Oh.
Here, look at your face. You died of heart failure when you and your husband were at the coast. Unfortunately, you weren't prepared for your sudden death. You are here with us, but you are speaking through the voice of a medium. All those who are here are spiritualists, who will help you if they can.
It's not possible. You're just lying.
Yes, Amy. It is true.
Try to accept things as they are, Amy. Oh, many things are much clearer now. When I met you in the church that night, Mary, was I already dead?
Yes. Yes, Amy. You had died the day before.
Come, Sister Amy. Standing at your side, there is a high being who will try to help you. He will explain many things.
Yes, I see it. Yes, I can see a gleaming figure at my side. It's radiant. It's smiling.
That's the spirit that protects you. He has cared for you from the cradle to the grave, my sister. Your guardian angel, Amy. And he has come for you.
He's calling me.
Follow him. He commands you. Your soul will find peace now.
Goodbye, Harry. Goodbye, Mary.
Don't forget us, Amy.
I became a confirmed believer in spiritualism after what I had seen and heard. I became thoroughly convinced that the souls of the dead could communicate with us. But my wife, who was upset because there was no news from Rudolph and because business was going from bad to worse, had set out on a campaign to make the spirits help us. She was terrified at the thought of losing the house, and she had made terrible invocations. Please don't go on, Mary. The spirits don't surround us just to satisfy our ridiculous and childish whims, you know. And you can't ask that they create miracles.
I know there are other beings, Louis. I know the best way to find aid so that we can solve our problems. I'll call on the evil spirits to assist us.
You'll bring us more tragedy than we can handle.
Well, come what may, I don't care. The only thing I'm interested in is helping my son to find a solution. What did the message say?
You're wrong, Mary. You are invoking the villainous spirits to help you. They represent forces so sinister and powerful that you'll be a toy in their hands. And later they will bring destruction. We ask you to change your mind. This thing you are doing is evil. I'll take that Ouija board.
Tonight we will try to make our spiritual guides appear so that we can listen to the messages they have for us. In order to bring about their complete materialization, we must concentrate to the utmost. Together, more force is needed. Can you come to us all? Can you hear us?
I invoke the diabolical spirits, the spirit of the devil himself. And I'll let him take my soul as payment. Only he must help my son. If he'll save my son's business, I'll...
Mary, this is outrageous.
I call upon all the evil spirits. I call upon the spirit of Satan. If it's really true that he exists. I ask him to show himself.
Calm down, won't you? Calm down. May all the benevolent spirits hear us. Turn back this sinister demon. If we are to save our group, may all the guardian spirits here present form a wall around us to keep out the forces of evil.
To this I say, Amen.
Please extend your hand to us, O Lord. Do not abandon us now. Send your emissary to us.
We should be thankful. Heaven has heeded our call.
Thank you for sending your light.
Calm down, my friends. There is nothing to fear now. Calm down and try to get hold of yourselves. As you can see, he has sent his light to protect us all. Now that the spirit of Satan has left us, we are safe again. I'll turn on the lights.
Oh.
Mary, your indiscretion has just brought us all dangerously close to the tyrant of evil. Therefore, I must insist that you never set foot in this place again. And may heaven have mercy upon you.
Who are you? Louis! Louis, wake up!
He'll remain asleep. No one will disturb us while you and I have our little chat. Because I want to finish the job I came to do.
What's your name, sir? Who sent you to my house?
I answer to two names. Ormus or Adamon. You may use either one you choose. Another thing, I haven't been sent here. You sent for me.
You're serious?
Yes, you. You can't have forgotten the seance the other night and what you did. Anyone who knocks on the door of the occult world is heard and a solution is sought for him. This box that you see here, it is Pandora's box. In its interior, it contains all the virtue and all the wickedness in the world. You have the key if you choose to open it. Its contents used to be mine a long, long time ago, longer than any human can imagine. But the day came when a great and just being walked among his fellow men preaching. He had many faithful followers, and I was there among his students also, but I was putting their love for him to the test. All those who dare to hold the box and make an invocation will have anything they desire. But then that would be dangerous. The box is an idiot's toy. The humble shall inherit the world. Do not forget those words. They are important. The decision is yours to make.
Louis! Louis! I tell you, he was here. Look. I am not crazy.
For the love of God, will you calm down? I was sleeping. And I think you were. You must have had a nightmare so real that you awoke, nothing more.
In that case, could you tell me who brought the chest in here? You suppose I brought it in myself?
Why's what, dear?
I already told you that when that strange man came in, it was raining. When the door opened, it was sopping wet. I could see the drops fall on the rug.
This thing is absurd.
All right, then, if you're so sure. Open it.
Look, Mary, it must be a practical joke. I'm not going to play along, understand? Look, nobody just comes in and then disappears like a mirage. There's no logic to it at all. I'll keep it, dear. Until this whole thing is cleared up. I'll bet you Elvira's behind this, and her group of spiritualists. Anyway, I'm getting tired of all this. And now we've been placed in a situation that's unnatural. There are some things man shouldn't touch. You and I will forget about these seances. And if we must lose the house and then fight to begin again, that's what's going to be done. All human beings have to struggle. And although they need help on occasions, it should be sent to them from the right source.
But there's still this chest, Louis. How did it get here?
Now look, I only know it's something I must find out.
Hello. Yes, this is he speaking. It's Larry. He's calling long distance. What is it, Larry? Tell me. Huh? But it can't be true. Look, there's a plane leaving in a couple of hours. I'll be on it. Late last night, a cold snap destroyed the harvest. And the farmers had promised to pay us off today. Now I don't think they'll be able to. I'll be ruined. And you as well. Under the circumstances, I can't marry Aurora.
But the situation can't be that serious, son. That's what you told us last night, anyway.
I know, but
What else is there?
Well, I omitted a few details. You see, I bought another plane to increase our business. Because things were going well.
Well, how much do you need to liquidate the debt, son?
Well, I really hate to say this, Pop, but the situation now is worse than when I began. I need $8,000.
$8,000 for a plane, son?
No bank would lend me $8,000, dear.
And besides that, we set up offices as the business grew. We had to get credit to buy aviation fuel, as well as insecticides. I was forced to hire employees. And pay another pilot, too.
But why are you standing there, Louis? What are you going to do now? This has to be straightened out.
I think there should be a solution to this.
You think that's all you do? You're the kind of man that prays to be shown the way. What good are your prayers? Your silly ideas aren't going to help us at all now, I know that. One thing. Money is the only solution to this situation.
You shouldn't be like that, Mom. Pop's right, you know. This thing's going to be straightened out sooner or later. Now, I don't want you to worry any longer. Well, I better catch that plane and see how things are. You wait and see, Mom. I'll find a solution. I did it once, and this time I won't fail either. Take care of it, Dad. I'm really worried about her. As soon as I get things straightened out tonight, no matter how late it is, I'll call. By this time tomorrow, we'll be together again and laughing. So long, Pop.
$8,000. All I want is money tomorrow. No! No!
Well, you're crazy.
You must be Mr. Howard.
Yes, that's right. Won't you come in, gentlemen?
Sir, I work for your son. I'm Larry Gray.
Fine, please go in. This is my wife.
How do you do? Nice to know you.
These two gentlemen came instead of Rudolph.
Mm-hmm.
Well, go ahead.
I understand that Rudolph explained the seriousness of his situation to you yesterday. He returned after I spoke to him on the telephone, but in spite of all his efforts, he wasn't able to get a loan.
That's not news to me. And you came along to foreclose the mortgage.
That's not the case. Last night, when Rudolph was feeling terribly depressed, 8 or 10 farmers arrived to inform us that they'd finally been able to swing a sizable loan, and that early this morning, they'd pay him all they owed. Rudolph tried to get through to you on the phone to tell you the news, but I guess you weren't in, because no one answered.
I didn't hear it ring. I guess I was asleep.
He phoned at midnight. I heard him place the call. When no one answered, he became terribly upset. He thought that you might have taken sick. You know how people imagine things. So then, in spite of the bad weather, and although I asked him to listen to reason, he insisted on coming to the city and flew his little plane down.
No! No! No!
I don't know if he told you about this or not, but he had an $8,000 policy of life insurance, with you as beneficiary. And although we don't usually make immediate payment, my company has made an exception in this case, and I brought the check with me.
No! No!
Oh, Lord.
My son!
No, Mary, dear. I can't bear you crying. I had to go up north and bring back my poor son's mutilated body. And when I buried him, I buried my heart also, and the love that had been the bond between my wife and me all these years. I don't know if I hated her or feared her, but the truth is that at times I was terrified by her presence. Her sorrow and her guilt, they were beyond tears, and she'd sit petrified, as if her soul had left her body. And I couldn't even reveal my horrible secret. I couldn't tell them that Mary alone was responsible for the death of our son and Aurora's personal tragedy. How frightful for her.
But poor Mary, it'd help if she could cry.
I want my son. Do you hear? Tell my son to return.
Mary. Mary.
The incidents that we have just seen could have been true or false. Lunacy or witchcraft. There are many who are helplessly driven by a desire to explore forbidden phenomena. If, with this picture, we are able to quelch that unhealthy curiosity in some, we will consider our job well done.